Aloha Hawaii, this is Pokalai Nui and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. Time now is 8 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Welcome to the program, or welcome back to the program. In the last hour, we had been talking about the American presidential, or the U.S. presidential election, and the campaigns that have been going on, and the various positions, and my analysis that in essence the discussions on specific issues are very shallow on both sides, and it may be a problem with the media who are not picking up some of the deeper issues and not bringing it forth, but there is a lot of silence on the part of the Republican candidate with regards to what his position would be in terms of immigration and what changes and how he would deviate from what Obama is suggesting, and giving specific examples of what he would promote. There is also a continuing question that should go deeper into economic policies. In one of the articles that appeared in the Star Advertiser this morning's paper, it says President fires up Florida supporters, and a portion of that article says, today it was reported in the Washington Post that the companies his firm, referring to Mitt Romney's firm, owned were pioneers in the outsourcing of American jobs to places like China and India. Pioneers, Obama said, referring to Bain Capital, which Romney co-founded. We don't need an outsourcing pioneer in the Oval Office. We need a president who would fight for American jobs and American manufacturing, and that's what my plan will do. The Romney campaign called the Post report fundamentally flawed, drawing a distinction between outsourcing and offshoring. The Obama campaign said neither would appeal to voters. So what is the distinction between outsourcing and offshoring? Are you arguing that the companies themselves still remain American investors' interests, but they are simply moving the activities and the employment offshore? So it is not outsourcing as if hiring foreign companies or purchasing from foreign companies, but they are still American companies. Well, it's not going to play well with voters who are saying, so what's the deal? What's the difference? The jobs are going out of the borders of the United States, whatever you call it. So on that, I think Mitt Romney is not going to have a good run on that particular issue. So it may be somewhat problematic. The other issue that people are not really talking about is what Obama has done with regards to these multinational agreements or trade agreements by which companies can trade within the United States. And what is happening is that they are breaking down sovereign or national borders such that foreign companies have the right to trade freely within the United States. And of course, American companies can trade freely within these countries that have signed on to these pacts or on to these agreements. It's very similar to, what was it called, the Free Trade Act between the U.S., Canada, and was it Mexico? But now with regards to, what was that recent conference that was held here in Hawaii, and the protest, I was involved in the protest, now I've forgotten the name of the conference, but out of that came what is called the TPP, which is another trade agreement by which you have about 8 to 10, maybe more countries in that, engaging in that agreement and overrunning or overruling even national laws by these kinds of agreements. And these are not agreements approved by Congress, at least not at this point. They are executive agreements, which in theory carries the same weight as treaties. And if you look at Article 6 of the United States Constitution, all treaties adopted pursuant to the Constitution are the law of the land. But what happens when the congressional act overtakes a treaty, or when a president simply signs an agreement or signs a treaty without submitting it to the Congress? Can that signature override the law of the land? These treaties give these countries the opportunity to sue various companies or the U.S. government itself in private courts, in courts not American courts. And so there's a hullabaloo about what is happening in terms of these most secretive agreements that are being made that are not open to the public. So I think on those basis, yes, Obama can be criticized. The fallback position is always, but what happens if Mitt Romney gets in, with his Republicans get in, with his far more pro-business folks getting in? You think this is bad? Imagine what they would be doing. So it's always that argument, which makes the whole presidential race what we would say here in Hawaii, a kill fight, because you really don't have an advocate for your position. You have lesser of the two evils kinds of stuff. As a result, a lot of people are saying, you know, while you may have supported Obama in the earlier election with the track record he has had, it doesn't mean you're going to vote for the other side. You're just not going to denigrate your vote by voting for Obama. So in that way, it's going to decrease the vote that he gets, but you're not tossing it on the other side. The Republicans are very happy with it. Yeah, just be dissatisfied with Obama, and then we'll get our voters to the polls. There was an organization, there is an organization which has been in the lead of campaigning or raising liberal issues, and I forget now the name of the organization. It may have been, no, it's not Just Cause. It's something like We the People, or Not in Our Names, or something like that. This organization, which is running a very active, internet campaign or email campaign, sent out a request for your vote. Should this organization get involved in the campaign and support Barack Obama, or just slide back and let him go against Mitt Romney on his own? Very definitely they're not going to support Mitt Romney, but there is there is a lot of dissatisfaction with the Obama presidency. A vote had been taken, and the result was overwhelmingly, I think it was 95%, that yes, you need to get involved in the campaign, and that this organization should get involved in the campaign. The rest, there were about 5% which said, no, don't get involved, don't support Barack Obama, just stay out of the campaign. So while this is a question, at least from that organization, people are saying, yes, we need to get involved. And so I think that fallback position is too dangerous, that if not Obama, then who? And when you see the face of Mitt Romney, you're saying, well, although we don't like some of his policies, we got to support because it's a lesser of two evils. So that's where the campaign is. And that has always been the case in presidential elections. There's always a question of the lesser of two evils having a role to play in people's campaigns. All right. Now, with that said, I had also opened the topic of the attack on Ben Cayatano. And people were previously conducting a campaign of Be Nice Ben. What a stupid issue to raise, because Ben Cayatano had a goal to criticize Dan Inouye. And what if he criticized Dan Akaka? Would there be also this uproar? I believe that the campaigns on the other side for mayor had nothing better to do than to waste all their monies going against Ben on this silly issue of be nice, Ben. Ben has never been nice. He's just not a nice guy. I know him personally. He's not a nice guy. But that's not what the issue is. Was he correct by asking Caldwell and Carlisle, what are you folks? Was that potted plants? Don't you have a position to take? Can't you think for yourself? And just hanging on Dan Inouye's coattails is not adequate. Think for yourself. Inouye is in Washington, and he does a good job in Washington and dealing with international affairs and all that stuff. But he needs to come down and hear the voices of the folks at, not 7-Eleven, what was that? At McDonald's, drinking coffee in the morning and squawking about this, and that. He needs to get back to the people. Fair comment as far as I was concerned. Okay, reading on, and it does appear somewhat silly what the PRP is doing. PRP stands for Pacific Resource Partnerships. It's an organization that essentially has been created to support rail. And why support rail? Because they have unions involved in that, and they have contractors obviously involved and wanting to get their clutches on the $5.3 billion and perhaps even more that the rail project would bring about. The head of that organization is a guy by the name of White. I had read previously what his first name is. I don't know this guy personally. Well, I don't know that I know him personally. But reading on from just prior to our earlier caller, for his part, Cayatano says he did what the law required him to do. Now, this is dealing with a campaign and campaign violations. The Cayatano campaign had a surplus of $8,655, which was turned over to the Spending Commission. The Cayatano campaign was then closed. Reached on the mainland, Watara was asked if Watara was the head of the Spending Commission, yeah? Was asked if Cayatano did anything wrong. Watara said, no. We closed out the Cayatano account and there were no liabilities related to his campaign. We would not have closed out the account if he owed money to someone or he owed money to us, Watara said in a telephone interview. It is bogus to come back now and say he didn't pay back money or something, Watara said. Cayatano now has a new campaign committee because he is running for mayor. State Representative Della Bilati was a campaign spending commissioner during Watara's investigations and was a driving force to clean up the campaign donation scandals. She said Cayatano did nothing wrong, adding that PRP is hiding its own finances. Ooh. Some people say, watch out who you point at because more fingers may be pointing back at you. Well, that might be the case here. My feeling, and this is citing, what's her name? Representative Bilati. My feeling is if PRP wants to engage in this, it is highly suspect. It is unfortunate. They are picking and choosing what candidates to focus on. They are failing to tell the real story. They are failing to say Governor Cayatano was never ever criminally impacted, Bilati said. Bilati noted that besides contributions going to Cayatano, donors also improperly gave to then Lieutenant Governor Mazie Hirono and for Mayor Jeremy Harris, former mayor. Here is part of the 2006 settlement reached with Russell Figueroa, RM Towel Corporation president. The proposed draft agreement is offered to settle claims of false name and excess contributions made to the campaign of Arno Morgado, Ben Cayatano, Jeremy Harris, and Mazie Hirono. Staff recommends and respondents had agreed to a fine of $50,000. What White doesn't say in his PRP commercials is that Hirono's campaign took in about $98,000 in contribution that White called illegal with Cayatano. White also didn't mention that he is Hirono's former chief of staff. What they are doing is very disingenuous, very hypocritical, said Bilati. White is refusing to say who is a member of PRP, making the effort to appear like the conveniently anonymous political action committee allowed under the U.S. Supreme Court's Citizens United case. When voters go to the polls in August, it may be that mysterious, unsubstantiated attacks, instead of being visionary campaign tactics, actually brings in Cayatano and send rail packing. Well, is that really the case? Are people going to be fed up with these negative campaigns, these unsubstantiated attacks, this failure to really put up, and they see it as part of the campaign of Caldwell and Carlisle, and therefore essentially vote against that kind of campaigning and for Ben Cayatano? What should be the role of Carlisle and Caldwell with this kind of campaigning going on? Should they simply be quiet and say, well, what is the word for it? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, and so I'm just going to be quiet and let them attack Cayatano, or take a more upright approach and say, I'm going to speak out against PRP's attack on Cayatano on these bases and distance or distinguish myself from those attacks. Now, they're afraid that that whipping tail will come back and attack them and then support the other mayoral candidate. So it's interesting how politics continue to be played back and forth in Hawaii. All right, if you would like to call and share an opinion, 524-1080 is our telephone number. There's been another issue with regards to how all these people in the government spending so much money, and so the Republicans are saying we're going to come down and make it an issue and go after all of these administrative folks. In this particular case, it's not in the executive administration, but it's in the judiciary, and that is the Republicans are going after the judiciary, saying that they are spending far too much money, and that spending of money is because now they want to go to Maui and they want to have a conference in Maui when they could have a conference in Idaho or Iowa or Utah or Nevada and other places. The judges have reviewed that critique and said we're going to meet in Maui anyway. So the continuing fight goes on and on. I'll read you more about the judge's response right after taking this telephone call. Okay? Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Hi, Bloga.
Yes, hi.
I just wanted to say about Obama. I despite everything, and he's disappointing most of us progressives one way or the other, and the only thing is, if we were to get what's the other guy?
Romney. Romney.
Yeah, if we get him in, then guaranteed the Supreme Court will be supremely against everything we stand for. And Obama, if he's in, the chances are one or two of them are going to either pass away, or they're going to be retiring, and that will balance the court into instead of 5-4. It'll be like maybe it'll be a couple more on the progressive side. Yeah. And the most important thing is to turn around the campaign finance deals that they've been able to get through the courts that are just totally messing up the whole democratic process.
That's right. The Citizens United case that allows unlimited spending by corporations.
Right. Without even having to tell, make it public either. And that's just totally outrageous. And I mean, it's against every concept of democracy. It's corrupt. It's democracy being very corrupted. And until that gets fixed, all the rest of it, forget the rest of it. It's gonna keep on corrupting and getting. The big money interests are gonna get their way. And I mean, they have such an overwhelming influence because of their campaign. I mean, their might with the advertising and everything. So if nothing else, let's get Obama in there, no matter what. And
okay, that's a good point that you raised because of that's a good point that you raised because of the implication with regards to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, most of us don't really think that Obama could. He could have did a lot of. I mean, if he was very much more aggressive, he could have really. Well, if he did like Roosevelt did, really just told the other side, you're full of what do you call it, shabai, and we might have gone a long way some more, but
do you think with a second term Obama would be far more liberal than in the first term because he needs to get elected for a second term, and then he can be more expressive about his liberal side?
Right, and he'll be lame duck too, so that'll be good. So however, that all depends on what the makeup of the Congress is too. I mean, the Congress could totally veto anything that he would veto. So
that's right.
So we will see, I guess.
Okay.
Just cross our fingers. I think if what was his name again? I don't even remember. The opposition. If he gets in, we're in a terrible fix. I mean, the average folks in this country are going to be in the most terrible fix. Because I mean, all he represents is the well-to-do and his friends and.
Okay, well, let me go to the next caller. I don't have too much time in this first half hour. Thanks for calling. Take care. Aloha.
Thank you.
And our telephone number is 524-1080. We'll go to the next caller, and then we'll go to music, and then we'll come back to our programming. Aloha, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Polka.
Yes, hi.
I've been away for a long time, but I noticed I can walk all the way from Iolani Palace to Market City, and no buses pass me.
Okay. Are you on the right street?
I guess we don't have the bus anymore?
No, the bus is still around. Maybe you're walking on the wrong street.
Yeah, that's like an hour, 45 minutes for me. No buses pass me.
Is that right?
I don't know what that means. I might be really unlucky, or maybe somebody's trying to get rid of the bus.
No. There are buses. The buses still run. They have cut down on their schedule a little bit, but if you're walking for an hour, you should have had a.
Yeah, this is South King Street. You would think, there's still the sign says the number 3, the number 2, the number 1, 1L, 13, 4. I mean, they all should have passed me at least once, and none of them did.
Okay, I don't know what's.
That's really bad. The city looks horrible.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, aloha.
Thank you for calling. Aloha.
Kaulana nā pua o Hawaii Kupa'a mahope o ka aina Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino Pala pala anunu me ka paka Pane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave Kokua pila a